Hey everyone, welcome to Magic the Gathering for Advanced Players. I'm Matt Sperling. This is the channel where we talk about how to think about Magic, how to get better at Magic, how to play at a high level. Today I'm bringing you a really cool play from someone that's not me, a play that I saw shared on Twitter today. Wanted to bring you kind of a quick reaction, quick video. It's a really fun, interesting play. We can talk about that. And then I want to get into another quick example, half props and tribute to a friend of mine who just took down the Grand Prix with Storm. We'll talk about a cool Storm play that comes up from time to time. So let's dive in. Wyatt Darby tweeted today, favorite play of the weekend, made at 1 life against Burn, bauble the opponent, Sea Mountain, snap off Assassin's Trophy on Sunbaked Canyon, their only untapped land. They declined the search and died next turn to a Goyf attack. Let's take the words and bring up the example. Okay. So Wyatt Darby's on 1 life. The opponent's at some life total where Goyf is lethal. Call it 1. Could be 2, 3, 4, whatever. Wyatt uses Mishra's Bauble on the opponent. Sees Arid Mesa on top. Whatever land. Now, obviously, that's a great card to be on top. This could be, Lava Spike. This could be any of a number of cards that would end the game. So, what does Wyatt do? Wyatt uses Assassin's Trophy on Sunbaked Canyon. So first of all, get rid of the card draw effect of Sunbaked Canyon, which he was going to want to do anyways. This sequencing does something interesting. The opponent now has a choice with Assassin's Trophy, and you actually have to remind your opponent, if you're playing competitively, they have a choice. So, you tell your opponent, would you like to search your library? And that should be part, or they know and they're thinking about it. They don't have to search their library. And the fact that you just saw their top of their deck and then chose to fire off Sunbaked Canyon indicates that might be a scary card on top. It's kind of like the Jace Fate Seal you. Jace the Mind Sculptor, look at the opponent's top card. I can put it on the bottom or top. Now, Mishra's Bauble doesn't give you optionality, but the Assassin's Trophy is playing that role. Try to shuffle my opponent's deck. Here, the opponent declined to shuffle, thinking, I want that card. They thought they wanted that card. So Wyatt then actually locks the game up. Now the Goyf is lethal. There's not going to be a top deck burn spell. And even though Wyatt didn't actually have the ability to control what the opponent drew, with a really creative sequence of Mishra's Bauble and Assassin's Trophy, created the appearance that he didn't want the opponent to shuffle their deck, and the opponent chose not to and was then stuck drawing a land. Now, if you're the opponent, what do you do here? Do you always search out the land? Do you try to get a read? Well, now that you've seen this, if you think the player is aware of this sequence, you've got to go get the land, because then you can kind of balance, and you always get a random card, and they can't game you this way. But if your opponent maybe is only going to Assassin's Trophy here, if it's a burn spell, then you wouldn't want to search. So you can try to exploit your opponent if you think they're not aware of they're not able to play at a level that Wyatt's able to play at. Or you can go get the land and kind of neutralize, kind of play a game theory type of, well, if I just shuffle my deck, then the opponent can't game me. So it's a really interesting sequence, and I thought it was perfect for the series. I just did a video on bluffing. Check out, I'm going to put a link to that video in the comments if you want to learn more about bluffing, how to think about this. But this is a really interesting play that I wanted to share with you guys. And then the second example I have, so props to Wyatt Darby for that, and thanks for tweeting that out. Second example, I want to first talk about how Cyrus Corman Gill, a friend of mine, loves Storm, always plays it. Doesn't always play it, but in Legacy, his favorite deck. He plays it when he thinks it's the best. He's awesome with it. Was thrilled to see him take down the Grand Prix. And this is not a play that came up at the Grand Prix, but this is a play that I've seen him make before. That's a really interesting one to talk about from the perspective of bluffs and kind of maximizing and trying to outplay the opponent, not just outdraw them. So here's an example of a game state. You're playing against some blue-white control deck, maybe Miracles, whatever. They tap out for their Jace. They brainstorm. The Jace is on 3. They say go. You draw your card, and you don't have anything to do. So there's some ponders and stuff in your graveyard, but there's no Past in Flames. There's no, you can't do anything. And you're looking at your 6 cards. And so obviously, you could say go. You could hold the Delta in case you draw a Brainstorm, whatever. That's not all you can do, though. You can also say fire off a Cabal Ritual, and an opponent playing with maybe 4 Force of Will, 1 or 2 Force of Negation is somewhat likely to counter that. You have a deck with Duresses and a bunch of other mana. They might counter it. Now they might not, And so what are you risking? What are you gaining? Well, you're risking a Cabal Ritual, but you got a lot of mana, so it's actually not that critical, especially if the opponent's inclined to let your mana resolve. It's even less critical. So yeah, you may be saying Cabal Ritual, and they say okay, and then you say go. So that looks kind of foolish. So you're risking that. And just the fact that you look foolish, I mean, some players are not going to want to do it, and they're not optimizing. This is Magic for advanced players. We shouldn't be solving for that. We should be trying to make the best play. So even an opponent who uses Force of Will and is going to lose Force of Will and a blue card, even 30% of the time, that's probably more valuable than the Cabal Ritual. So it's a play that I've seen Cyrus make. It's the kind of thing you want to think about. Even if I don't, hidden information, my opponent doesn't know what I have. And so if my opponent is sometimes punishing me by countering my first ritual or my first Cabal Ritual, then I've got to mix in some of these bluffs where, yeah, if they let it resolve, I'm just going to say go. So one way to check yourself, if you're playing Storm, you're never going ritual go against a counter deck and kind of looks embarrassing, you kind of feel foolish for a second. If that's never happening to you, you're probably not bluffing it enough. And if your opponent's always kind of playing perfectly with countering the ritual, well, this might be part of why. If you don't cast it, they get to kind of play perfect. Oh, if I want to just untap fresh with my Jace, I better counter that. Well, that might cost you 2 cards for nothing, essentially, if you're bluffing this. So props to Cyrus. This is an example of the kind of play he's able to find consistently as a great Storm player, probably the best right now. So it's good to see someone who studies a lot, who's well-versed, and goes deep. Good to see him do well at an event. So props to him. You'll see him on the Pro Tour circuit thanks to that win. If you like this content, this is Magic the Gathering for advanced players. Go ahead and subscribe. You'll get a notification when I post the next video, and I appreciate it. Thanks.